Thanks for visiting our office.
It's a pleasure.
Highly appreciated. So what is your advice to the SMEs, because 2,500 of them are our clients,
Yeah.
so they want to know that what would be the advice from
Well, I think first of
somebody
all,
in...
I think first of all, do a bit of scenario planning. You just think about alternative futures and how you deal with it, and whether your business is sufficiently robust to deal with shocks and changes. Work through your trade association in order to try to understand how the regulations might change. And I think a third thing would be to think carefully about your supply chain.
So one of the questions is, what is your understanding of post-Brexit VAT or tariff regime for companies in the UK who deal with the companies in Europe?
Well, in principle, one of the consequences of Brexit would be that the government will have greater freedom to change VAT rates. The key thing to look out for is that in May, probably in May, there will be a vote in Parliament as to whether Britain stays inside a customs union. If we remain in a customs union, then the tariffs are exactly the same as they are today. They wouldn't change. But if the government persists with the idea of taking us out of the customs union, then there's a potential for not just higher or lower tariffs, but for quite a lot of form filling in terms of anything you buy from outside the European Union.
Right. So Brexit is basically an economist's nightmare, right?
Well, certainly a negative. It doesn't mean to say that's a complete catastrophe, falling off the edge of the world. I mean, it's or even as bad as 2008 in the financial crisis. But I think what it does mean is that the economy grows a bit more slowly than it would have otherwise done. Therefore, the government gets less tax revenue, so therefore there's continuing pressure on public services and taxation, and it just all becomes a bit more difficult. I mean, that's, I would think, the more probable scenario.
Finally, what do you think a role of accountant can be in helping businesses grow in these uncertain times?
Well, I think people are going to need professional advice. There is so much uncertainty, and to have an accounting company which is collecting the best intelligence available, thinking about the risks that you may not have otherwise anticipated, I think this is a good prudent step to take.
Yeah, I mean, that's I tell the SME clients that I meet is, you talked about scenario planning, so scenario planning, modeling, or preparing yourself to do business beyond the borders.
Well, you don't need to have fancy computer-driven things. It's just a sort of applied common sense. But somebody who isn't emotionally tied up with the business and who can step outside and say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? And I think that's the kind of discipline you need.